Hi, my name is Linda Casbon, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience as an artist in residence at Kohler. The Kohler factory is in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and if you've never been there, it's well worth going on a tour. I toured the factory years before I was a resident and found it amazing. There's a foundry, there's a pottery. Um, the foundry was astounding. Uh, Pools of molten metal, bathtubs hanging almost like meat hooks. Um, it was really like walking into the set of the movie Metropolis. It's hard to capture the sense of scale, how big the factory was, but just a little story. A friend of mine was a resident at the time, and he wanted some talc for a recipe. He was led to an entire room full of it. I applied to Kohler with a proposal to create cage-like forms. I later realized this wasn't the most practical use of the resources at hand. I was excited and a bit overwhelmed. How do I take advantage of this amazing opportunity? The image on this slide is towards the end of my 3-month residency, taken by the Kohler staff photographer. This is an image of the outside of the pottery. The artist lived nearby in what had been worker housing. We had 24/7 access and used bikes to get around. There were usually 2 artists working in the foundry and 2 in the pottery. One of the most interesting aspects of the residency was getting to know other artists. Residencies were staggered, creating more opportunity for interaction. This was my first studio mate, Tim. He was wrapping forms and then casting them. The work had a nice free-form quality to it. I admired the simplicity of his process. Melissa McGill was my next studio mate. She had an ambitious project. She made models of the interior space of small figurines. These were replicated at a much larger scale for her work at Kohler. This is the work of Laura McLaughlin and Carrie Radash. They had studios in the pottery while they were working on a project at the nearby Kohler Art Center. Laura used a Kohler urinal as the basis for her piece. Artists are allowed to incorporate Kohler products into their work. The workday started early. This was a challenge for someone who prefers late nights. The workers were there, so I felt that I should be too. Casting slip runs through hoses near the molds, and early in the day, workers decide how many pieces they will cast. Music was ever present, usually of the Led Zeppelin variety. Towards the end of the shift, someone was allowed to switch to country western. Or maybe it was classical. There were 3 car kilns of various sizes. Greenware was sprayed with glaze and then placed directly into the kiln. There was a system for keeping track of the artwork. You would have to know which car number your work was on in order to retrieve it, and at what time the kiln would be cool. The kilns never shut down. Over the 4th of July holiday, when production was low, bricks were loaded to keep the kiln packed and hot. Being at Kohler was amazing, challenging, and worthwhile. I was using cast parts and then assembling them to create sculpture. This was slow going. I was trying to make my work using a different clay, a different method, slip casting, and a different firing temperature with different glazes. My advice if you go, have a plan that makes sense with what Kohler has to offer. Be ready to let the experience lead you, and remember to embrace the experience. Good luck!